Hello and welcome to week 5 of the WNEP Sports Spotlight. We are looking forward to some of the big matchups coming up in our Super 16 and the Super 16 countdown. Hello, everyone. I am Sports Director Steve Lloyd. Once again, joining us, Courtney Harrison and Eve Hernandez. And we're going to start with Courtney and her opening remarks.
Week 4 lived up to our expectations. I know we said last week we were really excited about it. Lots of great games. Especially the game that you were at, Eve. I don't think anyone else will top that game for the rest of the year.
I don't expect anyone to enter. That was an insane game. That was one of the best games. Like you said, right after the game, Courtney, you're like, that's got to be the game of the year. The whole time I was there, it probably lived up to the expectations that it had. It was a great week, though. Great week 4. A lot of teams were tested that we kind of wanted to see were tested. Some teams, some surprising losses, some movement again in our countdown, as always. But week 4 was a lot of good matchups, and it was really good to see how some of the teams, came out.
Yeah, and you're talking about the Jersey Shore game down at Shamokin, the double overtime game. Obviously, it comes down to Shamokin winning it there in double OT and still staying number 1 in our countdown.
Exactly. That game was just extremely crazy. First of it, overtime wasn't enough to decide this game. They had to go into double overtime to decide it. It was definitely a playoff of the district championship last year. That was an overtime decision win as well, but it was kind of the same kind of thing at the double overtime. Logan Steele makes a couple of great plays, and Jersey Shore just lets the win kind of just slip away from them just a little bit just again. But that was a crazy game, definitely up to the expectations.
And we'd like to send a shout out to the Holy Redeemer Royals football team. They snap a 24-game losing streak with a 27-20 win over Susquehanna, and quarterback Brady McDermott, 266 yards passing. So congratulations to the Royals, and who knows, maybe they'll start a winning streak here and get 2 in a row. Well, we're going to start with Courtney, and we're going to start with District 2 and our game of the week. It's going to be up at the pit Saturday at 1 o'clock. It's number 6 North Pocono taking on number 9 Abington Heights.
This one will definitely be a good one, between these two teams. They're having so far a pretty good season. North Pocono's coming off a big win over Wallenpaupack, 38-13. They did a solid job. They didn't allow points in the first quarter or the third quarter, and they really kind of shut down sophomore quarterback Jake Rafferty. They allowed him to 92 yards through the air total in the first half, also with 1 interception. They'll have to bring that and more when they face Nick Bradley and the Comets offense as far as North Pocono. Bradley hit a major milestone last week, over 5,000 passing yards for his high school career. So that's really a big deal. And I think that's not going to be the end of him for checking boxes, I think, this season. But North Pocono continues to impress. Joe Brisky had a stellar game last week, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. Plus, you've got Cole West. Plus, you've got a whole slew of weapons. So I think North Pocono will give Abington a good run. And this is also likely the last game for Abington Heights at the pit, and I believe it's senior day. So I think they'll be coming with a lot to try and get a big win to close out the season.
And the weather looks great too. So
absolutely,
awesome.
Should be a big crowd.
Then we've got Berwick at Hanover area. The Bulldogs are looking more like the football program of yesteryear, with C.J. Curry at the helm, kind of looking like his grandfather, the legendary George Curry. They proved their worth against Trail 2 weeks ago, and then last week they beat Hazleton 48-6. So Ty Wilkerson continues to impress. They're having a really hard time. Any team is having a really hard time kind of shutting down the run. He's just a beast. He's a speedy guy. I think he takes his track and field and converts it. And I didn't realize this. He only became a running back in the middle of last season. Okay. He never played the position.
Wow.
So,
impressive.
Coach Curry said, I don't know what I was thinking. Should have done that a long time ago. So I think Hanover area is going to have their hands full with trying to stop that speedy senior. Then we've got Dunmore at Carbondale. Dunmore's coming off a tough loss to Trail.
Right.
The Bucks made too many mistakes in the final minutes of the game. But they do show promise. I think quarterback Weston Unon is finding his footing coming from Susquehanna last year. So I think that they're still figuring things out. But they still look solid. Carbondale put up 45 points against Holy Cross last week. Wow. Over 300 yards of rushing. I think this will be the toughest challenge for Carbondale since they played Lakeland in week 1. Then we've got Scranton at Scranton Prep. Always a good,
nice.
a good crossover game. The Knights just won the Bell game over West Scranton. Pretty big win. That's always a big battle. And I don't know if you guys saw it. It looks like the bell broke at the end of the game. I saw pictures. I was like, oh, that's not good. But anyway.
Get the super glue out.
Yeah, right? A little bit of super glue. But so far their games have been one extreme to the next. Big wins, big losses. So I think they're going to have another challenge here facing Scranton Prep. Will McPartland back in the lineup.
Awesome for them.
He had a huge impact on the Cavs when they played Delaware Valley last week. They beat them 49-44. I did see a stat where Prep had 3 touchdowns in 66 seconds.
Wow.
In the final
That's crazy.
few minutes of in the final fourth quarter. So I think they really needed that back, and I think we'll see the Cavaliers as of late, and I think we'll see them trend back upwards.
Definitely.
And if you're making plans on Friday night, you want to go to that game, it's at Dunmore High School.
Correct.
That's where
There you
Prep
go.
plays all of their home games. They've been playing there for a couple years after playing up, I believe, they played some games at Scranton High School and maybe up at Valley View, so they've kind of moved around. We're going to switch to Eve now. Courtney, thanks for the District 2 report. And Eve is here with some of the big games coming up out there in District 4.
Yeah, so at District 4 this week, we're looking at one of the games we're looking at Loyalsock at number 14 Bloomsburg. Bloomsburg is new to our countdown this week. Coming in at ranked at number 14, deservedly so. 4-0 on the season. They had a nice win over Warrior Run last week, a 42-28 win. This game versus Warrior Run, they were very close at halftime. It was tied at halftime, but then Bloomsburg goes on 3 straight drives to score in the second half, and meanwhile, their defense doesn't allow a single first down until midway through the fourth quarter. So a very nice win for the Panthers last week over Warrior Run. They have a really good quarterback in Wyatt Brocious. He's someone that's kind of like a dual threat kind of style. He can move around out of the pocket a lot. He's someone that's got 1,400 all-purpose yards through 4 games so far this season. So Brocious is someone you got to respect the run for sure, but he's someone that can throw deep balls downfield as well. So you got to respect the threat. The way that Bloomsburg runs their offense, similar to like a Jersey Shore kind of style, with they like to go fast. They do a lot of the same things that they do with Elijah Jordan at quarterback and now Noah Pauline. Kind of the same thing with Wyatt Brocious at Bloomsburg. They're playing Loyalsock, who had 2 very tough teams to start their year. They're 2-2 on the season, but they're coming off of a nice win over Midwest last week. The Lancers, they started off with Mifflinburg and then Southern Columbia, so 2 very tough teams to start, but they're kind of starting, finding their mojo a little bit now. 2 really good wins after 2 struggling losses there, but this is going to be an interesting matchup, I think. Loyalsock, they're also, Danny Dowell is their quarterback. He's 6 foot, 170, pretty fast. He's a kid that struggled with some injuries the last couple of years. I think he only played 4 games last season for Loyalsock, so he's starting to find his footing now with the team. I think it's going to be a good test for Loyalsock to see if they can kind of get things more together as they progress versus a team like Bloomsburg next week. So we're also going to look at Shikellamy at number 5 at Jersey Shore. Shikellamy is one of those bubble teams for us. They were in our countdown the first few weeks of the season, and then after a loss to Shamokin, they got dropped out of the countdown. But they're going to have another really tough test with the Jersey Shore on Friday. Jersey Shore is a team that plays very disciplined on defense. They're really good at stopping the run. And last week versus Shamokin, the defense did a really good job at trying to limit Logan Steele's plays that he makes with his legs. They did a pretty good job at limiting him outside of the pocket. They're going to need that to do that again versus Shikellamy and their quarterback, Brody Rebuck. Brody Rebuck had 128 rushing yards for Shikellamy last week. That was the most he's had all season in a game. He led the team with that performance. He had 3 rushing touchdowns as well. Brody Rebuck has the ability to make really big plays downfield. He's got a really big arm. Versus Shamokin, it burned him a couple of times. Shamokin was able to pick him off 4 times in that game, but besides that game, only 1 interception all season. So we'll see if the Shore Bulldogs can, get aggressive after Rebuck again. They're going to need to. And I think, Coach Gravish is going to have a really good plan in place for those Braves offense, and especially after a loss to Shamokin last week like they had, they're going to want, any revenge possible this week, but that's going to be a tough test for Shikellamy. That'll be another good game, though. Also looking at number 8 Mifflinburg at Hollidaysburg. Mifflinburg was 10th in our countdown last week. They move up to 8th this week with a win over Montoursville, 35-7 win. At halftime, that game was 35-0 in favor of Mifflinburg. They created 3 turnovers in the first half of that game to give their offense more opportunities. They got one of the best quarterbacks in the state in Chad Martin. Right now, he's got the 18th most passing yards in all of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And then all-purpose yards total 21st in all of Pennsylvania right now. So they're kind of rolling with Chad Martin. But Hollidaysburg, it's going to be a tough matchup, though. Hollidaysburg's a 5A team. Mifflinburg is a 3A team. So just the size difference right there is going to be tough. Hollidaysburg is also 4-0 on the season. So just in the size difference, it's going to be a tough matchup, I think, for Mifflinburg to keep up with. But these are two undefeated teams that are going to be going at it. Hollidaysburg, they're over in District 6. They're kind of, they're far away from our area, but they do also have Jersey Shore and Williamsport on their schedule. So it's probably not the last we're going to hear of them, so far this season. But that one, definitely intriguing for sure. Number 15, Southern Columbia, back in our countdown. They go to Central Columbia this week. Looking forward to seeing how that one's going to go with Southern. Back in our countdown this week after a good win last week. So Central Columbia kind of struggling so far on the year, but hopefully the Tigers probably looking to roll, continue for that. But yeah, that's what we're looking at District 4 this week.
All right, Eve, thanks. And the first game she talked about was that Loyalsock Township game at Bloomsburg. This will be the first Super 16 sports final that we have some of the Panthers in the highlights. So we're trying to move around and get some different teams in there. So check us out Friday night for the sports final. With that game, Eve will be down getting some highlights of that game. So as we switch to District 11, the big one Thursday night, number 16, Minersville taking on number 2, Schuylkill Haven. And Rotary Field down there in Schuylkill Haven, that place will be packed on Thursday night. Minersville coming in after a tough home loss last week to Williams Valley. So kind of that triangle down there, those three teams kind of battling it out. And then obviously Williams Valley has a really tough one coming up with Tri-Valley. Then we got Tide and Pottsville. Coach Brennan taking a little road trip down to face Southern Lehigh, and Southern Lehigh, a very good football team. They just knocked off North Schuylkill, who was in our countdown, so that's going to be a tough road test there for Pottsville. Then Stroudsburg out at Pocono Mountain East, and Pocono Mountain East looking to gain some respectability again and put up some more points there in the District 11 standings with a big win over Stroudsburg, so trying to get back in a winning column after a tough loss last week to Allentown Central Catholic. And then the aforementioned number 3, Williams Valley, the Vikings going down to Tri-Valley. That's always a heated rivalry. Two schools that really don't like each other that much. And down there in Higgins, that should be packed on Friday night. Should be an outstanding football game. So that's the reports from District 2, District 4, and District 11. When we come back, we will take a look back at the big games from Week 4. Stay with us here. More on the Sports Spotlight.
The Wilkes-Barre-Scranton International Airport, AVP, is your gateway to everywhere. Start here with safe, convenient, terminal-connected parking, quick check-in, and short lines at TSA. Fly on American, United, or Breeze Airways and connect to destinations throughout the USA. You can go nonstop to Chicago, Washington, D.C., Philly, or Charlotte. It's that easy. When you return, there's quick baggage claim and parking nearby. You're on your way faster at AVP.
And welcome back to the Sports Spotlight. I am Sports Director Steve Lloyd. Courtney Harrison, Eve Hernandez joining us again. Now we're going to take a look at some of the big games from Week 4. We're going to start with that huge one down at Kemp Memorial where Shamokin won it 43-42 in 2 overtimes over Jersey Shore. These two have been going at it, and it goes back to that District 4 championship game last year. Another crazy finish, and it was just craziness down there, Eve. And I know you were looking forward to the game. I don't think any of us thought it was going to go 43-42 double OT.
I cannot believe that it was 43-42 double OT. You couldn't even expect a game like that to be played out. At first, it was kind of Jersey Shore was kind of taking control of the game. They had a 28-14 lead going into halftime. Bo Seacrest had a fumble recovery for a touchdown to make it a 14-point deficit going into halftime. And that kind of took the sails out of Shamokin a little bit. But then the first play after half, Ryan Bickert, their punt returner, 98-yard kick return for a touchdown. Sorry, I hit the mic right there. Hopefully that didn't hurt the audio too much. But kick return for a touchdown to get Shamokin right back into it, get their momentum going. And then after that, the run game was really what Shamokin needed to get back into it. So Ken Clinton had a great game at running back. He's someone that tied the game to make it 28-28 to go into overtime at first. And then just the play he was also, Zakem, when I talked to Coach Percy after the game, he said it was Zakem's idea to go for the 2-point conversion at the end of the game to win the game instead of kicking the field goal and set to tie it to go into a triple overtime period. Coach Percy said, I pulled Zakem, I called Logan, and I called a couple other guys aside, and I was like, what do we want to do here, guys? And Zakem said, Coach, I want to win the game. Put me blocking for Logan. Give Logan the ball, and we're going to score a 2-point conversion right now and win this game. That's exactly what they did. It worked out just to their favor. Talked to Logan after the game, too. He said, I wasn't in favor of doing that. I wanted to get the extra point because I wanted to keep going. You don't want to give the ball back to them, but it worked out for Shamokin. And, man, that was just an absolutely crazy game. Really good, just football on both sides of the ball. Coach Gravish, Coach Persine, really good game plans going in on both sides. And, wow, that was just incredible players make incredible plays. And Logan Steele made a couple of incredible plays in that game.
Yeah, I think last year was part 1. This was part 2. And who knows, part 3 could be coming up here soon.
And I'm sure the atmosphere was wild.
Absolutely wild.
We were watching it through the highlights, and I was like, "Oh man, just to be there would be exciting." So I'm glad you got to experience that big game.
So a big win for Shamokin there, and obviously Jersey Shore. They actually moved up in the countdown. A very good team. Probably maybe 2 of the best teams we have in our area. How about Mifflinburg, the Wildcats, and quarterback Chad Martin? Eve talked about that a little bit, going down to Montoursville. Not too many teams go into that stadium, and they come out with a 35-7 win. Yeah. You got Landon Moser, who had a big game, Jackson Griffith, and the Wildcats are playing some good football for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they continue to impress, and the defense really kind of stepped up too. Montoursville had 3 turnovers in the first half. That was a huge momentum killer. I think that they probably couldn't get that momentum back after that. But head coach Cody Botts has to be pretty pleased with his Wildcats so far this season.
And then we have Wyoming area going on the road and beating Lakeland 38-14. A very emotional pregame up there. You were up there for the highlights. Coach Spencer doing a good job, but it was kind of the emotional support there in the beginning for the state patrol.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Lakeland does their salute to service every year. This is their 3rd year they've done it. They honor veterans. They honor people who served the country. This year, they had 2 Lakeland grads, those 2 state troopers who were shot in the line of duty up in Susquehanna County, and they honored them. And there were so many people there. It was powerful. And plus, they had a Black Hawk come in, land, and then fly over the field before the game started. A Lakeland grad was also the pilot of the helicopter, so it was a pretty cool atmosphere. So I think Lakeland really had, all that support, all those people there to get them going. They started the game off great. They went up 14-0. David Nanowitz looked fantastic, per usual. But it was almost like Randy Spencer's and the kids and the Warriors just really were kind of stalled. Nothing was working for them. And then all of a sudden the switch flipped. And I don't know what was said on the sidelines. I couldn't hear, but there was some words. And all of a sudden they came out and started playing. Scored a couple quick touchdowns. Special teams won the game for the Warriors for sure. At the end of the first half, they tried to go for a field goal. I don't know whether it was a bad snap or it was designed that way. But they went and scored a touchdown to really kind of take the lead at the half. And I think that took the wind out of the sails, as we said before. It takes the wind out of the sails of the Chiefs.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago where Wyoming area was winning a state title with quarterback Don DeLuca. That was back in 2019, and actually that was down at Hershey Park Stadium.
Yep.
And Coach James Franklin was there with Brent Pry, who just lost his job as the head coach at Virginia Tech. So kind of everything coming full circle there, and certainly Wyoming area and Coach Spencer and his staff.
He knows what he's doing.
Just doing an outstanding job. We move on to Halifax. They lost to Line Mountain, another team in our Super 16 countdown. Final score 62-14. Caden Maurer going to Henry Malfara, and then you got Maxim Johnson, who was on our Super 16 Dream Team, and who knows, we could have 3 Eagles on the Dream Team this year. They are just rolling along out there in Herndon and playing some good football. Line Mountain.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns from Malfara, like you said, 2 touchdowns for Dalton Shado last week too. I think they had 7 total players that had touchdowns for Line Mountain last week, spreading out the ball for sure. That's really really impressive to do. Something you definitely like to see. 62-14, absolute dominant win for Line Mountain. They continue to roll, and they're ranked at the top of our countdown for a reason.
And then we have Williams Valley winning on the road at Minersville, 43-40. Fletcher Thompson with 166 yards rushing. Courtney, I know you've done plenty of stories at Williams Valley. I know, Eve, you've been down with Coach Sadesi. I don't know how they're doing it. They got great athletes. He certainly has a system, and he's getting it done.
Right, and this game was not a sprint. It was a marathon. It was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Exciting. The Vikings defense had its hands full with Dante Carr. But Williams Valley allowed some Minersville allowed some big plays from Williams Valley to kind of let that game slip out of their hands in the very end.
Okay.
And Eve, I know you've been down there a lot with Coach Sadesi. What do you see from them? What is it about that program that makes them so successful?
Definitely. They love Coach Sadesi. He's only been there for 3 years now. This might be his fourth or third, excuse me if that's wrong, either third or fourth season leading the team. And they've absolutely bought into what he's laid out for their program. He was a quarterback for Williams Valley back in his day, so I know he takes a lot of one-on-one work with Brady Schomper, getting him comfortable in the position. But the way that they run their offense, it's a lot through Brady Schomper. He's someone that they'll have, he will run people over, kind of Barry Jackson Dart-esque is what I like to say. The way that he kind of likes to run people over, but is able to, throw deep balls downfield. They got some really good running backs. I think 3 really good running backs at Williams Valley. That was a tough test for them for sure. The Miners were definitely their toughest test all season. But remember, Williams Valley was the team that made it to the quarterfinals last year. They lost to Riverside in the AA quarterfinals. They're a really strong team in our area. I think they, holding on for that win really proved that, they got, some of the horses to keep up with that again and, even do better than they did last season.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move to Mount Carmel, the Red Tornadoes going down to Southern Columbia and losing to the Tigers 49-16. Again, another emotional pregame ceremony. Both school districts coming together, raising tons of money for former Tiger player Josh Tripp, who also played at Bloomsburg University and recently diagnosed with a brain tumor. So Josh is going through chemo right now, and he's really battling the cancer. And certainly he has a lot of support down there, not only from Southern Columbia, but also from Mount Carmel. They presented him a check around 6:30, so about a half hour before kickoff, and our photographer Dan Taransky was there and said it was an emotional time for everybody, and kudos to both school districts for getting behind this family and helping out Josh, and hopefully he can get through this. Thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family, and certainly a great player, and Southern really kind of rolled to a victory, and tough time for the Tripp family right now. Yeah,
absolutely. Nobody wants to see anybody go through that, but I think that football community runs deep, and I think that he has a lot of good backing, and I think that's probably one of the reasons the Tigers turn up the heat. This is always a really good matchup, kind of its own rivalry in recent years. So hopefully Mount Carmel can turn it around, but Southern's looking more like the old Southern.
Yeah. And obviously Josh playing for Coach Roth there for a lot of his victories to get him over 500, and certainly they're hoping to have a victory here for Josh. So hello, Josh, and the family, and keep fighting, bud. Then we moved to Wallenpaupack. They lost to North Pocono 38-13. I was up for that game. Place was jammed. Great pregame ceremony with the band and the cheerleaders. Love that field up there, and Coach Dolan is doing an outstanding job. Eve, you had a piece on Coach Dolan a couple weeks ago, and he's got a tough one coming up this week with Abington Heights, and that's going to be a battle up there. But he's certainly getting a lot from Cole West, and Chase Zimmerman, his quarterback, kind of does a little wildcat there, bringing Cole in, and really going to rely on that offensive and defensive lines as they keep rolling here through their schedule, much like what the Trojans are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got a lot of weapons. You've got Josiah Gray. Like, these guys, when one guy steps up, the other one's kind of fills the gap. But we're not talking about the same players every week with North Pocono, and that's what I like about them. You don't have to focus on one player to make the plays, and I think that makes it tougher for a defense to defend. So I think they'll have a really exciting matchup on Saturday.
Yeah, this game for the Abington Heights, these are two of the teams that are top of their division in the Lackawanna League right now. They're both 4-0. This game is going to be for winning. Who's going to win that part of their division? They are two of the best teams in the Lackawanna League for sure. It's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, teams always want to win that league title first, Eve, and then they want to get that district championship, and then obviously get into states. And no longer down at Hershey, it's down at Cumberland Valley, down in Mechanicsburg. So you just got to go south a little bit farther. Beautiful facilities down there. They've really put a lot of money into that school district, and they put the bid in, and that's where the state championships are now for football. So Valley View losing to Abington Heights 45-7. Abington Heights will be at home 1 o'clock Saturday at the Pit. That is the kickoff, and Coach Repchus, he really has it rolling there this season with the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was there a couple weeks ago talking to the team. I'm going to head back out there again this week. But, man, Nick Bradley, there's nothing left we can say. He's just impressing so much. Over 5,000 yards, as we said earlier. But he had Jaden Anglin in his sights all night. last week. I think we'll be looking for more of that. He's got Gavin Anders. They're rolling, and I think it'll be hard to take the momentum out of this Abington Heights team. And especially, they're coming off this big win over Valley View. But, we had said it again, Valley View's young. But I think they still did some good stuff out there. But, again, Abington Heights is the team to beat, I think, as you said.
And now time for our Sports Spotlight play of the week. And here it is. It's the 71-yard interception return from number 9, Caden Dunkelberger. And he plays for Line Mountain. It was an INT late in that one to give them a 62-14 win over Halifax. So congratulations to Caden and the Line Mountain Eagles. Nothing better than a pick six and going in for a touchdown. Week 1, it was Logan Steele at Shamokin. Bo Seacrest was our play of the week from Jersey Shore in week 2. Week 3 was Amari Green out there in Pocono Mountain East. And now Caden Dunkelberger from Line Mountain. How about that play?
That was a great one. And there was a lot of good ones to choose from. It wasn't necessarily, there were a couple plays that didn't have to be long plays. The 2-point conversion could have been in there, but there were so many to choose from, and I guess that's the beauty of it.
No, yeah, that was a great play, though. Just rewatching it a couple times, you can see Dunkelberger just kind of sniff out the pick. They was the quarterback kind of tried to flick it over to the running back a little bit, but Dunkelberger read it easily. He just intercepted the pass and was able to break one tackle to freeway to the end zone. But that was a great play. Definitely deserving a play of the week. Like you said, there was a lot of good ones this week.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, it's been an emotional week, and when we come back, we'll have an emotional story down there from North Schuylkill with former quarterback Jaden Leiby. We will show you the sports finale and a feature story from 1992 coming up with former Valley View quarterback George Hawanich. You're going to stick around and watch this. He was 17 years old, and it's like the curious case of Benjamin Button. His voice is still the same today. So those 3 stories when we come back here on the Sports Spotlight. Stay with us. And welcome back to the Sports Spotlight. And we've shown this in all of our previous weeks here on the Sports Spotlight show. And it's our Friday night sports finale. It's put together by our video coordinator, James Pennington, along with all of the photographers. So here is last week's Week 4 sports finale. All right, thanks, James, and thanks to all the photographers getting all of that outstanding video. That's a great feature we always run each and every Friday night on the Super 16 Sports Final. Moving to another very emotional story. It took place last Friday night down at North Schuylkill High School, and it was the North Schuylkill Hall of Fame night, and going in several former players that played for the Spartans, and one of them including Jaden Leiby. Jaden was injured in a game against Pottsville back in 2019 where Jaden was paralyzed. He has battled through that and gone through tons of therapy and tons of support from that school district, and obviously from former teammates and some of the other players going in were Jake Green and Tyler Eldson and a few other players, and certainly an emotional night down there in North Schuylkill put on by their athletic director, Jim Gross, who talked with our audiire, but certainly emotional times down there, and people still kind of remember that particular night.
Yeah, and Jaden has really turned lemons into lemonade. You know, he's become a motivational speaker of sorts. So he's taken the high road coming out of this. You know, a lot of people's lives are changed when you have accidents like this, and especially, you know, in a game like that. So it's nice to see him doing well and a well-deserved honor.
Eve, since you've come to the station, I know you've come to realize the emotional support from that school district. You've been down there tons of time. I don't know if you've met Jaden or not, or some of his teammates, but it's certainly an inspiration for all of us and everything that he's going through.
Yeah, most definitely. And they love football down over there in North Schuylkill. They absolutely will. The community completely rallied around Jaden Leiby too. And just watching the story even that our Audi put together, I mean, you can see, you know, the emotion that was there at the stadium that day just for him, you know, being honored. And like I said, or like you said, Courtney, just what he's been able to do, you know, really turning it around, you know, taking a tragic event and making something, you know, the best of it. Really impressive what he's been able to do, but just a really emotional story, like you said. But, you know, the community, full support around him for sure.
Well, here's our story with our news reporter, Audie Iyer, and his news photographer, Greg Eibach.
It's a story that's been 6 years in the making, from an injury that shook the entire North Schuylkill community to an honor that brought them to their feet. 5 football alumni of the school are now the most recent inductees of the North Schuylkill Hall of Fame. Among them, Jaden Leiby, who was left paralyzed after he was tackled on this very field almost 6 years ago.
At first, it really sucked. You know, you get football, you get your legs, you get everything taken away from you for a specific amount of time, and then you kind of find what your purpose is. And I've been finding that a lot lately, and just realizing that my purpose is to just motivate people to be better.
Jaden, now a motivational speaker, has spoken at his alma mater, and he's even been to a few games since his injury. But this game is one he's been dreaming about since he was a kid.
It's an honor, man. It's something that we've always looked forward to, even coming to these games since we were young, and seeing all the guys, you know, dressed up before halftime and stuff. And, you know, you want to be like them, you know. It's just like, it's a cool thing to be a part of. It's an honor.
Jaden's stepbrother Jake was also his teammate. Both were inducted on Friday night.
We watched greats walk across this field, and him being my brother, me and him would ride home with those conversations, you know, and stick with us. And then, you know, having the opportunity to be inducted with him is just like a dream come true.
Jaden's teammates, fellow inductees, were with him during one of his hardest days, and now one of his best.
What I know tonight is watching him go across the field all by himself. It was emotional. It was emotional to see him do it. He did it by himself. He wanted to do it by himself, and it just showed a lot of strength, courage, and resiliency.
An honor 6 years in the making.
You can basically look at the extremes of taking what was probably one of the worst nights that I've ever had here, the night that Jaden was hurt, to just going to the other extreme and being an awesome celebration that he was able to come back to the field tonight and be inducted into our Hall of Fame.
Audie Iyer, Newswatch 16, Schuylkill County.
All right, thanks, guys, for that report, and we wish the best to Jaden as he moves forward in his life, and certainly, as we all echoed here, certainly he's provided all of us with inspiration as we go about our daily lives. So now we turn to another story from way back in 1992, and this is with former Valley View quarterback George Hawanitz, and at the time, his head coach was Frank Pizzalia, and this was with our WNEP Sports Star award each and every week, and Jimmy Coles had the story, and it's very interesting to see a very young George Hawanitz who then coached at Valley View, and obviously he's up at Honesdale now.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I completely forgot about these WNEP Sports Stars. I mean, I grew up watching this station, and I forgot it was a thing until you pulled this up, and I was like, man, that was a lot of fun doing that. And George was well deserved of this when it aired. So you know, I think everyone should be excited about seeing this one again.
Eve, you've obviously met Coach in his later years. You know, he's married now, and he's got kids, and he teaches, and he certainly loves football, and obviously loved playing back in the day. But you get a chance to see a very young Coach Hawanitz.
Yeah, you love these blasts from the past that we've been able to dig out and find, that you, Steve, have been able to dig out and find, you know, the story from the 1990s, and we've shown a couple of these over the last couple of weeks, but you love the absolute, just the old stories. It's really cool to see just kind of everything, you know, was back then. It's a little bit different, but especially when you see these coaches now on the sideline, you get more of an understanding of, you know, their upbringing, how they grew up, you know, their style of play, who they learned from, and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely prominent in this story also.
So here's our former sports director, Jimmy Coles. You're not going to see him in this story because Coach Pizzaia hands George Hawanitz the plaque at the end of the story. But here's the story from way back in 1992.
Anyone familiar with Valley View football knows how it works. The Cougars beat you up, and then they beat you. Bermudian Springs came into the Class AA Eastern Finals wanting to take away Valley View's power game. But where do you start?
Our offense has a lot of weapons. Russell Canterbury was the Big 11's leading rusher this year. We have a great sophomore fullback, Mike Conahan. We have a great weapons on the outside with Mike Szymanski and Donnie Carey and Mike Swanch. And our tight ends do a great job, and our line does a great job blocking.
The Eagles tried to cover every angle, but in the third play, Hawanitz connected with Mike Szymanski for a 60-yard touchdown. The Cougars were on their way to a 32-0 trouncing.
When you start getting everything that works, then it's kind of like a steamroller that nobody can stop you. You get that great confidence. Really, everybody blocks well, everybody does everything perfect, and the plays work, hopefully.
No player has ever passed and run for 100 yards in a PIAA playoff game. Hawanitz just missed going into the books with 97 yards rushing on just 12 carries.
There's a better player in the state from both sides of the ball, offense, defense, punting, leadership, character. A kid that very, very mature. I don't think there's a better kid in the state than George Hawanitz.
The Valley View senior has one game left in his high school career, the state championship next Friday. After that, it's time to get down to the real business at hand.
No matter what George endeavors to do, he's going to be a success because he has both feet on the ground. He's got a level head. He's comes from a great family, and football is just a little bit bonus. He's got all those other things that are much more important going for him. George, congratulations on being selected Sports Star of the Week. You've had a great career at Valley View, and much luck to you in the future. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks to Jimmy Coles for that report. We will dig up more stories from the past. We have so many outstanding former great athletes here in all of northeastern and central Pennsylvania. So we will keep digging. We will keep digging. When we come back, we will unveil the Super 16 countdown. It came out Monday night at 6 p.m. on our news. It's also out on the app and on our desktop at WNEP.com. Just go over there and click on sports. You can check it out. But when we come back, we will go through the countdown and why the teams are where they are when we come back on the Sports Spotlight. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the Sports Spotlight. We're going to go quickly here to the Super 16 countdown, and Courtney's going to rattle through the teams 1 through 16.
All right. At number 1, we've got Shamokin, then Schuylkill Haven, Williams Valley. Number 4, Line Mountain. 5th, Jersey Shore. North Pocono at 6, Wyoming area 7. Mifflinburg 8. Number 9, Abington Heights. 10 is Troy. 11 is Berwick. Number 12, Lakeland. Lackawanna Trail sitting at 13. 14, Bloomsburg. 15, Southern Columbia. And 16, Minersville. A couple first-timers into the countdown here.
Yeah, so I just want to let everybody know kind of when we put this countdown together, it really isn't kind of, a big school being better than a small school. It's kind of a water cooler discussion when you look at some of these teams. Certainly Lackawanna Trail being a very small school, that team certainly has a shot to advance far in states. Even a Line Mountain team that does very well. I think going back maybe some of the Henry Hanoski teams at Southern, those Southern Columbia teams probably could have beat some of the 6A schools, like when you had maybe a Gary Brown or a Darrell Blackman at Williamsport, a big school like that. But certainly there's a mix of big schools and small schools here in the countdown. And
I think that made it even more challenging when they went from 4A to 6A. Yeah. It's much harder to decide who really is the best. I think it speaks more about talent, like not talent, but the players who are consistently putting up big numbers, making the big plays. And against their opponents, I think it's harder for people to understand it. We're not just doing just District 2, just District 4, just District 11.
Right.
We have so many schools to pick from.
Yeah, and then obviously even with the AP poll or the coaches, the NCAA coaches poll, there is a strength of schedule item in there.
Factor,
Yeah, and that's going to come in prevalent more for the NCAA teams as they pick the top 12. There are some automatic qualifiers, but when you're filling out the kind of rest of those teams, they do look at strength of schedule. I mean, maybe you look at Notre Dame as an example, being 0-2.
Right.
They played a couple good teams. They still have a lot left on the schedule. You don't want to have any more hiccups,
Right.
But they certainly still have a shot to get in. But who do you like out of this 16, and who's kind of jumping off the page?
Yeah, I just want to say some of the teams that dropped out last week. We had North Schuylkill, drop down after being ranked 8th. Pocono Mountain East, we had them ranked, and they dropped out after a really tough loss to Allentown Central Catholic. So I guess goes to show, some really talented teams like North Schuylkill, like guys are just talking about right now. It's really hard to, where we place them and everything like that. But some teams that I am looking at, coming in though, Minersville's new to the countdown of this week after they're kind of a bubble team for a while. Obviously, a very strong performance versus Williams Valley. Very strong team with Dante Carr. He's just incredible. But they're 16 that are countdown, and then we got Southern Columbia coming back in of this week after a good win over Mount Carmel. They're going to continue to look to do some good things like next couple of weeks. Their schedule definitely favors them, I will say too. But yeah, definitely. The top of our countdown, not much has changed so far. So got Shamokin, Haven, Williams Valley, Line Mountain up there. We got Dirty Shore rounding out the top 5, which I think our top 5 is pretty solid. I really
agree.
like where our top 5 is right now.
Yeah, and sometimes injuries do affect some teams' performances and their one-loss record, and they can kind of get things rolling maybe as the season rolls on and actually do some damage down the road. So, any final thoughts on the countdown, Courtney?
I'm glad to see a couple of these other teams get in there. Especially like Bloomsburg.
Right.
They haven't had this successful of a start to the season since 2011, 2012.
No.
They're due, and I know I was down there, and all these kids are really excited about bringing back that Panther pride and seeing themselves back in the countdown.
And you have head coach Mike Kogut down there,
Yep.
who used to be at Mount Carmel with Coach Brennan. So he was on his staff when they were making some of those state championship runs.
Yep, he's really excited about this team. When I was down there, you can tell there's the excitement is building. They've got a tough game this week, then they know that. But I think they've got the momentum. They've been really focusing on conditioning, because they don't want guys to go down with injuries, cramps, nothing. They are all in, bought in.
And their facilities out there are beautiful.
Absolutely. It's one of the nicer fields that we get a chance to go to, and it's been a minute since I've been out there, so it was nice.
They've kind of built a dike now along the river, so and there's a pumping station. So when it flooded before, the water was up over the goalposts.
Yeah,
wow.
we were actually just talking about that
The other day.
They said that. They remember, one of the assistant coaches says they remember seeing all the fish
Oh my gosh.
because they had to build the dike back up to not allow the water to come back. And he goes, I remember the fish and the smell.
Oh wow.
So
if it comes up that high again, they can pump it out.
Yep.
Because they do have carpet in there and they got turf in there.
Yep.
It's beautiful. They're just trying to protect it, but obviously it's tough sometimes with Mother Nature, and that is a river out there. And if they get a lot of water,
yep.
Knock on wood. So, all right, we've gotten through 4 blocks here. When we come back, we will finish up with our picks. Courtney's doing good. Eve's doing good. Me, not so good. So when we come back, we'll have our picks here on the Sports Spotlight. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the Sports Spotlight. I am Sports Director Steve Lloyd, along with Courtney Harrison, Eve Hernandez, and here are my picks. 13-5 coming in after the first 3 weeks, and then in week 4, which was last week, we are currently talking about upcoming week 5. I went 3-3, and overall record now of 16-8. I do like those numbers, though. 16-8. Definitely the 16. It's kind of our TV station here.
Reppin'.
So here's my picks for week 5. This is for Steve. Jersey Shore. I do like Jersey Shore at home over Shikellamy. That is the first place that I scored my first touchdown out there at Jersey Shore. Pee Wee football for Loyal Sock.
Fun fact.
It was a tight end around.
Oh, nice.
And I did score. We don't have. There's no photos or video or. Yeah, I don't know what my parents were doing at the time, but God love them. Berwick. Then I do like Berwick. Courtney's been pumping up the dogs here against a very impressive and improved Hanover area team. They almost knocked off Riverside on the road, so we will see. Maybe they got the home momentum going there, and they could pull off a victory over the Dogs. We will see, right?
Yep, we'll see.
I do like Dallas and Coach Manello over Pittston area and the Patriots. Some great athletes. They're playing some great football, so that should be a shootout up there against the Mountaineers. And then Loyal Sock Township taking my alma mater over Bloomsburg. That's a heartfelt pick from the heart there. Not really using my brain on that pick, but Coach Van Fleet, we got some West Siders with your name behind you, and maybe we could do something there. We'll see. Then Williams Valley going down to Tri-Valley. Taking Williams Valley to beat the Dogs on their home field. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of emotion down there for Tri-Valley. They definitely want it. They would like nothing better than to knock off Williams Valley, and then Delaware Valley over Wallenpaupack. So those are my picks.
All righty. I was 13-5 coming into week 4. I went 5-1, and now I'm 18-6.
Nice.
18-6. I'm doing better than my fantasy football team is.
Pulling way ahead of Steve.
But my picks, I'm also picking Jersey Shore over Shikellamy. I think Schick will be looking to get one in on the Bulldogs, but I still think Jersey Shore is a strong team. I am also picking Berwick over Hanover area. The Bulldogs, so many weapons. Like you said, I think Hanover area is good. Coach Curry knows that they are not coming in here to try and
spoil anything.
Yep, they want the win. I'm taking Schuylkill Haven over Minersville. This is a must win for the Hurricanes. I'm hoping. I don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen, but I'm sure Mike Farr's got some tricks up his sleeve. I'm picking Abington Knights over North Pocono again. Final home game at the Pit, senior night. I just have a gut feeling that that's going to be the way it goes. I'm taking Bloomsburg over Loyalsock.
You're using your head, not your heart.
Yes, but again, anything can happen in this game.
You never know.
And Williams Valley, I agree with you, over Tri-Valley.
Awesome. For my picks, I was 14-4 coming into last week, and I went 5-1 last week. I think I've gone 5-1 every week so far.
I think
that's how I've gotten to a 19-5 record. So I've only guessed one game wrong every week, which is obviously the best streak out of all the three of us. For my first pick, of course, Jersey Shore over Shikellamy. We all picked that one the same. I also have Pittston going to win over Dallas. Like you said, a lot of good athletes on Pittston's team. I think they're going to take care of Dallas on Friday night. I'm also picking Schuylkill Haven over Minersville. That's going to be a tough one, like you said, Courtney. This one was a tough one for me to pick. I'm going to be down there on Thursday night. Extremely excited to watch how this one plays out. This one's probably going to be a shootout. Hopefully Schuylkill Haven's defense has a plan for Dante Carr. I'm sure they will. I'm also going to pick Montoursville to beat Mount Carmel area. I also have Williams Valley over Tri-Valley, and that'll wrap it up with Delaware Valley beating Wallenpaupack.
That would also be a good one, I think, too.
And I know the Schuylkill Haven School District is having, they're giving tickets to some of the members, I think from each school district for suicide teen prevention.
Right.
Okay. So that's going to be a big topic and focus before the game down there for that. So there's going to be some awareness, and there's going to be some people gathering in for that huge game.
Yeah.
So Rotary Field should be packed on Thursday night. That's a Thursday night
game.
And we have some Saturday games, and then obviously the Super 16 Sports Final coming up Friday night at 11. So we'll go with final thoughts, and we'll start with Eve.
Yeah, final thoughts. Wow, what a great week we had. Week 4. We were all looking forward to it with some of the really big matchups, and they all lived up to the hype. All of them did. Like I said, a lot of teams got tested that we needed to see tested. Some movement, like I said, but week 5 going to be promising a couple of really good games again. Talking about some District 11 games, some really good ones. Just looking forward again to seeing another good week of football. We got Thursday night football, Friday night football. We got some Saturday afternoon football. It's a full weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think week 5 will be just almost as exciting as week 4, and I hope to be proven wrong. I hope it's even more exciting. We've got some good matchups, some Super 16 matchups, so I'm looking forward to those. And I believe, if I'm correct, I'm going to be at the Scranton Prep game.
That'll be fun.
So I'm looking forward to seeing those two teams. I haven't seen either of them yet this season in person, so looking forward to that.
Should be an exciting week of football. I'm looking forward to see if Schuylkill Haven can stop Dante Carr through the air and with his legs, and then Nico Carastia and his gang of running backs there on the ground. See if the Minersville defense, it's a short week for them. See if they can get it going. And then obviously up at the Pit on Saturday, I just think that's going to be kind of a clash of two systems. If they can slow down Bradley, and then the physicality of the Coach Dolan team there in North Pocono. So great coaching staffs, great players, great history there between those two teams, and we'll have it all covered on the Super 16 Sports Final, and then Saturday with the sports. And join us back here once again for another Sports Spotlight. Thanks for joining us. Get out there, make it a great day, and we'll see you next week.